Join me today as we're going to make a box with 45-degree joints on the sides, just to see if it has less wood grain and lasts longer. Right now I'm checking to see if my sled is square by using a scrap and cutting it 4 times, and if it matches up at the end, it's square. Also notice that when I use the sled, I've got to make sure that I push that board down very tightly to the surface of the table saw. Otherwise, it actually makes it shorter than it's supposed to be. And this is a cute little sliver. Getting it almost 20 inches long and cutting the other side. It's a lot easier than doing the rabbit joint. Less cutting. And it's a little easier to put together. But will it hold up? That is the test. Almost 20 inches long. And I'm using the curve of the tree, making sure that center is facing the outside. The theory is that it will try and straighten out that curve. And when it does, it will pull the sides, top and bottom that is, toward the inside of the box and keep it nice and tight. And the center of the box is the one that's going to pop out. Looks like 5 inches wide, a little over 2 inches tall. That's the handle. Almost 7.5 inches from each end. That's just for reference, and so if I ever do this again. And almost 5 inches is how much sticks out. This is sticking up 1 inch. It's about 2 inches long, and it's about 1.25 inches for that sloped part. And the blade is sticking up 1/2 inch. This is how it works. I slide the board down that little ramp, and the dado cuts it. Only problem is it has no stop. So I'm going to put a stop in here. But I actually have to move that stop after cutting the first pass in order to get that 5.5 inches wide handle. So I got to cut it twice. So I've got to come up with a way of making it so I don't have to move and unscrew that block each time. But that'll be another job. But the end result is a nice handle. Going to load my 1.5 inch U-shaped staples. Hook up my air compressor and throw this hive together. I'm using only a few staples to try and make sure everything lines up. This is the first attempt to see how this is all going to work out and play out. My intention is to try several different ways of mounting this box together to see if the jointing helps in the way it survives the weather. I'm also noticing how easy it is to put together, but so easy to mess up. Checking my dimensions, making sure that my 3/8 inch dado is enough for the frames to fit, and giving a couple more tacks and some wax and trying to get it all squared up. And the next step is I'm going to try and screw this together. And I notice it sits a little high. So we're going to whack that down a little bit also. It's only got a couple staples. Shouldn't be too hard. Now I'm going to get a screw that is just a little bit smaller than this drill, and the head of the drill is about the same size as the head. I'm going to use the drill in the reverse mode so it doesn't go too deep, and kind of recess this screw. Afterwards, I'm going to screw the drill bit almost all the way down in, it looks like, and that will make this oak not split, hopefully. And that screw will hopefully have enough to grab and hold this box together. I'm going to use 3 screws on one side and 2 spaced evenly on the other side. We'll see how that holds out. And these are deck screws. They've got some type of coating that's supposed to live the life of the deck. So we'll see if they hold up any better than anything else. I also noticed that there's not much material there toward the outside corner for those screws to hold on to. But toward the center, it's almost 3/4 inch thick. I'm wondering if it's going to just rip out. Well, I'm going to test it out and see if all these frames fit. And they sure enough do. And it's got a nice tight seam. We're also going to test out this staples. I'm going to show you what happens when you lean on it with all your weight. It loosens up quite a bit. Which way is it failing? It seems to be that the staples are pulling right out. The heads aren't pulling through, but all the inside brad part is yanking right out of the wood. So my question is there some way of stopping that from happening? I have an idea. I think if we can keep it from spreading, a little glue might help it. That'll stop it from spreading apart, and then the staples won't release. We'll see if that works. We'll try it out. I have another idea. How about if we use some metal to reinforce that corner? I'm going to use some flashing that they use for siding. It's got like vinyl on the one side and aluminum on the other side. I'm going to double it up so I don't have sharp edges sticking out, at least on one of the sides. I'm going to bend it into a U shape. I'm going to use some wires and wire this together. They're stainless steel. I think it's 0.03, something like that. The same wire I use for welding. I'm going to wire this together. A little tedious, but it might be worth it in the long run. We'll see. I'm going to do the same gluing of the joint, and we're going to add the reinforcement. We're going to use some vice grips and pull this as tight as we can. And the first time around, we're going to give it a little whacking, try and get it as tight as possible. And I noticed the stainless steel wire cannot take bending back and forth. It only gets bent once. If you bend it twice, it tends to snap right off. So I'm not even going to twist it together. I'm just going to tack it in place with the staples. And these are the 1.5 inch staples. So it's going to be held together with staples and the wire. The wire hopefully holding the joint from opening up. The staples holding the joint together. And the metal L shape is to stop the wire from ripping in through the end grain and loosening up. Well, it's a thought. The only thing I do not like is these wires poking out. They're kind of dangerous. Gonna give everything a light sand on all the corners and edges and paint them up. And this is after a couple of weeks. Not looking too shabby. But I'll keep you in touch. I see some of them are opening up. I don't know if that was the unglued one. Some are stapled, some are glued, some are screwed, and some have the wire. We'll give them all a test and let you know how they all make out. Thank you for watching Galloway Lights. Like and subscribe if you so wish.